with the pillars, with the future. Here we are, let's join together with ability to change communities, with love, with peace, to respond to our need, to call for unity. Africa, hear me cry, never leave me alone. As I see light in a brighter future, let's join hands for youth and women. Let's join hands for youth and women.
I lead, we lead together. So you lead, I lead, we lead together. We do lead. Let your dream be a reality. We do lead. Let your dream be a reality.
Yeah, vijana wa Afrika wote waungana, vijana kutoka mashariki, magharibi, kaskazini na kusini, hata na kati, twaja pamoja ili tufanye nini?
So you lead, I lead, we lead together. So you lead, I lead, we lead together. We do lead. Let your dream be a reality. We do lead. Let your dream be a reality.
Hello, kunjani? Solo chibakae. Kiana. Bravo. Amahoro. Mambo.
We believe in the potential of girls, women, and young people in all their diversity.
We aspire to be included in all decision-making spaces.
Queremos ver a más niñas y mujeres jóvenes como líderes de movimiento, activistas, agentes de cambio y políticas.
Notre manifeste appelle les décideurs à ouvrir des voies de participation sûres, inclusives, accessibles et durables.
We demand the national government and national law do more to protect our rights to participate.
Nous voulons être les pionniers et pionnières de notre propre avenir et réclamer un accès égal à des espaces de prise de décision sûrs et inclusifs.
We are tired of patriarchal norms that define our lives.
Y respirar el poder igualitario.
We call on power holders all over the world.
Listen to our voices and become part of the solution.
We ask you, what will you do to ensure that girls get equal power now?
Please support young people. Give them access to dialogue. This is a time for intergenerational dialogue. And I believe, coming to Youth Connect, this has been a great platform for that access, for intergenerational dialogue. But it will not just end here. Let it also be heard and let it be implemented in terms of the solutions that we want as young people across the Sahel region and in the continent as well. And I think it's important that as young people we come with a common cause. We're faced with the same challenges, so regardless of which countries we come from, which regions we come from, we have that to bond us in terms of the common issues we're faced with and the solutions that we have that are detrimental to build the Africa that we want for now and for the future generation.
Tusonga mbele mama Afrika, Afrika, Tusonga mbele mama Afrika, Afrika,
Honorable Prime Minister Kassim Majaliwa, distinguished East African leaders, ladies and gentlemen, our dear youth, good afternoon. It's impossible to create a better world without bettering the lot of women. The world cannot be a better place if women's conditions are not better in it, wrote Tajuddin Abdul Rahim, and may his soul rest in peace. While these words were penned in 2006, they still resonate now despite our country's advances of the past 15 years in granting women equal status, equal opportunities, and equal protection under the law. Perhaps the greatest indicator of how much further our fight must take us is the fact that discussions on female equality are still being held, and justifiably so. And still in view of the cultivation and employment of female potential that must be achieved to reach our 2063 development goals, greater efforts must be invested.
Muhimu, tunahitaji kujituma, kujitoa, uadilifu, uaminifu ili kulijenga taifa aminifu. Na hasa vijana mnaposhiriki kwenye matukio mbalimbali ya uzalishaji mali, wale wazee wenye umri wa kati waendelee kuwa na matumaini makubwa na vijana ambao ndio nyie hapa.
Today I'm joined by my fellow co-moderator.
My name is Eric and I'll be co-moderating with Diana on this Gender Equality Forum.
Yes,
we are very excited to have you participating here with us and taking part in this engagement.
Actually, we need support because it is not very easy, especially the younger you are, the more difficult it is for you to even get into these spaces.
Introduce our next speaker, who is Laura Bass. Okay.
Yes.
So Laura, as the Dutch Youth Ambassador for SRHR and bodily autonomy, how can we support you by connecting with youth from across Africa to ensure broader outreach and impact?
The best way to help me is to make sure that young people can participate actively in society. My name is Laura Bos. I'm 25 years old and I'm the Youth Ambassador for Sexual and Reproductive Health and Rights, Bodily Autonomy and Gender Equality within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. In one sentence, my job is to make sure that the voices and needs of young people from all around the world are represented in the policies that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs make.
Do you think climate justice component is strong within the Action Coalition's commitments?
When we talk about, for example, why Africa is going to be hit the hardest by the crisis, we must acknowledge why that is. So this requires us to address legacies of colonialism, imperialism, neoliberal capitalism, and how these manifest and affect our ability as African people to self-determine in these economic global systems that are built on hierarchies and that centers profit over people.
So from your perspective as a young woman, how do you think we can organize ourselves to position young women at the front line for the Action Coalition's agenda?
First and foremost, young women can start by popularizing the commitments that were made during the Generation Equality Forum. If given a chance, young women are definitely able to come up with very innovative ideas that would aid the government in rolling out and advancing the implementation of the commitments in their communities.
Hi Fiona, we can't hear you. You are muted.
Apologies. All right, sorry for that brief delay. Thank you once again for being with us. All right, welcome to the launch of the second cohort of the Leader Fellowship. A housekeeping sound microphone. Let me ask my colleagues as well to look for that sound, wherever that sound is coming from. Please mute your microphone throughout the duration of this program so that we can be able to hear everyone. Okay, great. Keep your microphones muted. We would also request that you keep your videos requested. Kindly have your microphones off. Once again, let's try and keep that in check. Okay, great. I think we are good. Let's keep that in our notes, microphone and video off, so that we can be able to hear the various people that are going to share with us today. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Well, if you are in East Africa, it might be morning where you are or evening. Welcome, welcome, and we are very happy to have you with us. Please do leave your name, country, and organization in the comment section so that we can get to know you, know where you're watching from, and just really connect with you as well. Now, the reason why we are here today is the Lead Her Fellowship, and this is a Pan-African young women-led fellowship that aims to provide young African women with the skills and knowledge to lead in the fields of politics, business, trade and entrepreneurship, and peace and security. In 2022, the fellowship kicked off its pilot cohort, co-implemented by ULEAD Africa and Plan International Middle East, Eastern and Southern Africa, which included 36 young women from across East and Southern Africa, throughout the Eastern and Southern African region. This year, not only is the fellowship expanding its geographical reach, but includes a new co-implementing partner whom we are very excited to announce today, the African Union Office of the Youth Envoy. My name is Fiona Kemijisha, and I have the honor of being your moderator today. Now, investing in women's empowerment sets a direct path towards gender equality, poverty eradication, and inclusive economic growth. We recognize that on the journey to that, it is pivotal to equip particularly the younger generation of women to effectively lead in different areas and facets of our communities, of our countries, and of the continent. This fact informs the Lead Her Fellowship, its existence, and also our theme today, which is empowering the next generation. On that note, allow me to invite our very first speaker for the opening remarks part of our program today, Ms. Makena Mobobia, the Executive Director of MS Training Center for Development Cooperation, whom we lovingly call Mama Makena. Welcome, Mama Makena. Please do put on your camera and go ahead.
Thank you very much, Fiona. Can you see me?
Yes.
And can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
So thank you very much. And as usual, very excited to be among the young of Africa. And I know this is the future I'm talking to. So let me just say officially, ladies and gentlemen, young people of Africa, good afternoon. All protocols observed. As you've been told, I'm Mama Makena, or Makena Mobobia, the Executive Director at the Training Center for Development Cooperation, one of the partners for this esteemed program. I have the privilege and honor this afternoon to welcome you all to the intergenerational dialogue on empowering the next generation. On this important day that the second cohort of the Leadership Fellowship is being launched, as well as we are announcing the partnership with the African Union Office of the Envoy, we really appreciate that you have taken time to register and join this critical space where great things will happen in contributing to the Africa we want. I appreciate our partners in this journey, Plan International and the Office of the Africa Union Envoy, with whom we have co-created and we are currently implementing the second cohort of the Leadership Fellowship, to which we hope many more cohorts, as I think Fiona will agree with me, will be implemented in the future while expanding this critical opportunity across the continent. We come together this afternoon with a lot of excitement, young people, experts, practitioners, with the aim of contributing towards the achievement of the Africa we want. I personally believe that young women's leadership in Africa will help us in addressing gender inequality, which is still very prevalent in the continent. With their unique perspectives and experiences, the young women leaders will actually bring fresh ideas and solutions to the table. I see the fellowship as a stepping stone towards preparing young women leaders in the critical spaces they occupy and should occupy in economic development, in enhancing peace and security, and promoting democratic governance, giving room to leadership in politics by the young women. All in all, this will also add to the breaking of the glass ceilings as we contribute to increasing the numbers of inspiring, competent, confident, skilled young women leaders who will add their voice in the decision-making policy and processes. Before I conclude, let me take this opportunity to call on more partners to join us in empowering the next generation by supporting this fellowship. I hope that we can continue having more cohorts, not just once a year, but even twice or thrice, because we need numbers, and numbers will bring the change. To conclude, Fiona and the team and the young people of Africa, I just want to say and emphasize that it is important to note that we need more young women in leadership in order to achieve the objectives of the Africa we want. It is therefore critical, and I'm calling on our government to invest in the education, training, and mentorship of young women leaders. I look forward to being inspired this afternoon by all that will be discussed, and more so to hear from our fellow alumni in terms of the excitement that lies ahead of us. I want to wish us the very best as we continue to engage, and as even we celebrate this second cohort launching. May God bless you all, and may God bless Africa. Over to you, Fiona.
Thank you so much, Mama McKenna. We really appreciate your wisdom, and that you highlighted that we are breaking glass ceilings to allow more room for competent and skilled young women in leadership spaces, so that our policies can really also be focused on building more inclusive areas, especially in leadership. So we'll go right ahead to our next very special guest, who is joining us again for the opening remarks. So I'd like to invite Ms. Charles Nyukuri, the Regional Policy Advocacy and Research at Plan International. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Fiona. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. And my highest regards to Mama McKenna. She's the right person that we need right now. So I want to first of all recognize the Africa Union, the center that is MSTCDC, ULEAD, and Office of the Envoy, and all the young people joining us from different parts of Africa. I am so encouraged when I look at the chat box and I see people saying where they're coming from. That is, I can see people from Somalia, Cameroon, Nigeria, and the list is so on and so forth. That means we have a huge appetite to empower ourselves in different spaces. As Plan International, we prioritize accountability to the children and the young people we work with, especially girls and young women. We are committed to seeing their voices heard, and not just being heard, but all the contributions are being taken into account in a very meaningful and in a constructive way. Our partnership with ULEAD has developed the Africa Young Leadership Program, and we are proud to be part and parcel of this fellowship. And definitely with the Office of the Africa Union coming on board, we are happy that we are taking this to the next level. Kindly allow me to just share two quotes from the first cohort graduates. The first quote comes from a graduate known as Judith Charles from Tanzania. And this is what she had to say after attending the first cohort. She said that this is a great space to rethink our policies and authorities' contribution on development regionally. If you lead, I lead, and we all lead together. That was from Judith Charles. That was after her digesting the information that she got from fellow participants and the other facilitators who came on board. Anita Soina from Kenya, this is what she had to say. The global community challenges faced by us can be solved by us, but it can be made even better when we are supported with capacity, empowered, and given learning platforms. The fellowship was not only a learning platform, but also a networking opportunity among fellows and with facilitators. Based on what Judith and Anita have shared, clearly you can see where we are going with this. We are creating an environment where we can have enough information to equip ourselves so that we can ask the right questions to the right people, so that by the time we are demanding accountability from the different spaces, we are in a good position where we can ask and be looked upon and be recognized as decision makers. So we are asking for equal power now, and with alumni's guidance and leadership, we will continue to develop this fellowship to be the desired platform where people can come and engage. So my note to the rest of the speakers who will be coming on board and the young people is we are very humbled that you took time to join us today. And as Plan International, we are forever grateful for this opportunity where we can engage young people. And to MSTCDC, the Office of the Youth Envoy, Africa Union Office, we are glad to be part of the second cohort, and we look forward to bring our expertise and also to share our experiences, but also to create a platform where not only girls, but also boys can engage meaningfully to ensure that we make this part of the world a better place to live in. So Fiona, thank you so much for the opportunity, and I look forward to the interactions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nyukuri, for sharing that with us, and especially just highlighting some of the quotes from the fellows of the first cohort last year, which was a very exciting thing. Just in case you came in a bit late, you might not know that the first cohort was just last year, and now we are launching the second cohort of the Lead Her Fellowship, a place of learning and networking. That really stuck because those are two things that go hand in hand in any type of growth. So thank you once again, Mr. Nyukuri. And next up, I'd like to invite our next speaker for the opening remarks part of our program, Ms. Chido Cleopatra Mpemba, African Union Chairperson's Youth Envoy. You're welcome. Please do put on your camera and go ahead.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. If you may allow me to speak on OG protocol observed. I actually just arrived in Madagascar, where we're hosting our first listening tour of the year, but I could not miss this for anything. And I'm so glad that I've managed to log in for this official launch. And distinguished guests, it's such a great pleasure to welcome you all to this launch, the Lead Her Fellowship, in partnership between my office as the African Union Chairperson's Youth Envoy, representing the African Union, and Plan International, represented by the MESA region, as well as You Lead Africa as an implementing partner. Now, as we gather here today, we're also reminded of the critical role that young African women play in shaping the future of our continent. And when we look at Aspiration 6 of the AU Agenda 2063, it's very clear that there's no continental development without the investment into the potential of youth, women, and children. And the Leadership Fellowship is a Pan-African young women-led fellowship that provides young African women with the skills and knowledge to lead in the fields of politics, business, trade, entrepreneurship, peace and security, as you will hear more of today. And this fellowship aims to really equip young African women with the critical skills and tools to realize their full potential and contribute to the Africa that we want. I'm very glad to have joined the commemoration of the first cohort of the You Lead Summit in December 2022. And now I'm even more elated to be part of the launch of the second cohort today. And more importantly so, to announce our partnership, which will play a critical role in ensuring that young youth issues are mainstreamed into all the African Union programs and policies. For many months now, we have been discussing the ways in which the Office of the AU Youth Envoy can add value to this already impactful fellowship. And it became imperative to add value to this dynamic fellowship. And therefore, my office is very proud to partner in enriching young women's lives with leadership potential and acumen. Beyond this, we envision African women engaging with each other and with key stakeholders in the women's leadership space. I believe that as nations slowly build up after the pandemic, we know that more than 40 million girls and women were faced with extreme poverty, another shadow pandemic of gender-based violence, and many more, resulting in 11 million more girls that may not return to school. And whilst many were left behind, women around the world continue to be underrepresented in decision-making levels at just about 30% that are in public leadership. This stage shows that the importance of fellowships, such as this leadership fellowship, that become a training ground and a launchpad for young women to effectively execute as leaders. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to leave you all with the words of the former president of Malawi, Her Excellency Joyce Banda, a champion for women's leadership and education. And she said, "The seeds of success in every nation on earth are best planted in women and children." Now, here we have these young women in whom we are planting the seeds of leadership and national success. In these small but meaningful ways, we are embedding Ubuntu, values that will see continental growth and prosperity, creating the Africa that we want. Finally, I would like to take this opportunity to recognize the importance of the partnerships and collaborations in supporting women's leadership across Africa and beyond borders. And to those making this fellowship a success, Plan International and You Lead Africa, together with the MS Training Center for Development Cooperation and the East African Community, and more partners that we wish to join, your immense dedication and fruitful collaboration towards youth engagement and young women's leadership is very exceptional. And it is this reason we are here today. And now to the second cohort. Your possibilities are endless, and I look forward to your dynamism and zeal to transform Africa so that we can really achieve the Africa that we want together. Thank you all, and I wish us all successful deliberations, conversations on the next couple of months. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mpemba. We really appreciate you taking the time to share with us. And also we appreciate this new partnership and cannot wait to see what we do together. Now we are going to move on into the next part of our program. Once again, I want to welcome you. If you've only just joined us, welcome to the launch of the second cohort of the Lead Her Fellowship. We've just had our opening remarks from three phenomenal individuals who are part of our partner network. And as Ms. Mpemba was just sharing, there cannot be enough partners. And we appreciate our partners just coming on board and ensuring that we are creating impactful spaces for young women to grow and thrive in different areas of leadership. So moving on, we are going to go into an intergenerational dialogue. Our theme today is empowering young women, specifically putting them at the forefront towards the Africa we want. And we have a great panel that's going to come and join us in this conversation, who I'm going to invite. So perhaps I'll invite you one by one and you can go ahead and switch on your camera. Let me start with Gumiso Chisi, the public management practitioner and African Union Office of the Youth Envoy representative. We also have with us Chipo Muchabaiwa, Regional Youth Engagement Specialist with Plan MISA, Yona Siongwana, Lead Her Fellowship Assistant Coordinator and alumni of the first cohort. We also have with us Ms. Glory Florentine Kimario, a Lead Her Fellowship alumni and mental health expert. And finally, Patsy Mugabe, Lead Her Fellowship alumni and financial wellness edutainer. Okay, forgive me, edutainer. So I'm just going to highlight you also. Everybody can see you here. Welcome, ladies. Thank you for joining us. I'm hoping each and every one of us is here. Okay, I see you. Let me make sure that that at least all of us can see each of you. Great. I see everybody's here. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining us, for making the time, for being part of our partners, part of our Lead Her alumni community. So welcome once again. And maybe let me just give one more note to our audience. If you would like to ask questions or comment, the comment section is open, but also right after this dialogue that I'm going to have with these ladies, you'll be able to put up your hand using that feature on your Zoom menu at the bottom of your screen, and we'll be able to just have a few of you contribute during that section of our conversation. But for now, we're just going to focus on the discussion that I'm about to have with these amazing ladies. So we're going to talk, a lot about the Lead Her Fellowship itself and its impact, this new partnership that we are embarking on. Well, rather this partnership that we are adding the Office of the Youth Envoy to. And maybe let me start with you, Gumiso. How has the Lead Her Fellowship how does the Lead Her Fellowship contribute to the agenda of the African Union and to the mandate of the Office of the Youth Envoy?
Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me clearly. I'm glad to be here. And thank you for your question, Fiona. I think as the Youth Envoy has already said, the blueprint for the future and development of Africa, which is Agenda 2063, it highlights in Aspiration 6 about an aspiration for an Africa whose development is people-driven, that relies on the potential of its African people, particularly women, youth, and children. This means that there's no development without young people and girls across the 54 member states. Given this background, and since the Lead Her Fellowship is a Pan-African movement or fellowship aiming to provide young African women with skills and knowledge to lead in fields like politics, business, trade, peace and security, we see that it is directly contributing to the growth of the continent by producing leaders who in many aspects influence continental success. Through this fellowship as well, we are seeing women and youth empowerment, which is directly part of the mandate of the Youth Envoy, Ms. Chilom Pemba, who is representing youth voices and young people's voices across the continent. And we can tell part of her mandate is to champion, to connect, to convene, which we also see happening at this fellowship. And if I would like to elaborate on that, one of the pillars of the fellowship is entrepreneurship and business. These are topics that are directly linked to the AU's focus at the moment, which is promoting the AfCFTA, which is the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. So overall, we not only see the fellowship contributing to the AU mandate, but the AU, particularly the OIE, the Office of the Youth Envoy, feeding into this fellowship and what the fellows are going to learn. So it's really a two-way street. And maybe to finish off, let me conclude with this, that the UN Women, it projects that at the current rate of progress that we're going at, gender parity in national legislative bodies, that includes parliament, will not be achieved until at about 2063. So whilst we are quite far behind, it is fellowships like these that train young leaders to occupy spaces and in politics. These are the fellowships that are moving us closer to the goal, both for Agenda 2063 and the global agenda. So this is such a critical program that is contributing to the mandate of the African Union, as well as the African Union feeding into young women to become leaders. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gumiso. That was very comprehensive. And I think it really gave us, as well as our audience, that clear picture of why this partnership is so important, why the Office of the Youth Envoy is so pivotal in ensuring that these issues, in particular, because Lead Her Fellowship is about women, in particular, young women's issues, ensuring that they are mainstreamed into African Union programs and policies. So thank you for sharing that. Let me pivot a bit and go to Ms. Chipo. Chipo, kindly share with us, being an implementing partner, that is with Plan MISA, since the conceptualization of the Lead Her Fellowship, what are three main characteristics of the fellowship that support the achievement of gender equality in Africa?
Okay, I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me? Great.
So at Plan International, during the conception of the fellowship, one of the main things that we tried to do, and probably the best characteristic of the fellowship, is the co-creation, which is at the forefront of what we do. As partners, we try to come in and leverage on our networks and the work that we're already doing, the amazing work that we've been doing with young women. And we realize that definitely there is a space that is needed for young female leaders to be able to share ideas, to be able to network, to hear from other women who've walked the path. And this was definitely something that came out from our interactions at the ULEAD Summit, at the Gender Equality Forum. And this is something that we went back, talked to other young women, and decided that, no, this is something that we definitely need to invest in order to be a part of this. So for us, the first thing is co-creation. During the first cohort, one thing that we try to do is to make sure that we understand and we appreciate where the fellows that are engaging with others are, what they are saying and what they require, the support that they need. And definitely, even if you look at the three main pillars of the fellowship: politics and governance, entrepreneurship and business, as well as peace and security. These are topical issues on our continent. And young women felt that they'll definitely need a space in order to be able to interact with people in this space, interact with peers in this space, and learn from each other. The second main characteristic of the fellowship that I can point out is it's a feminist safe space. It's a space for learning. It's a space for growth. It's also a space for peer-to-peer learning. One of the key things that I can definitely assure you is, for us, it's been a learning journey. We actually did not have to teach anybody anything during the first cohort. If anything, we took a lot of lessons as implementing partners from the young people that we were engaging with. And we hope these are lessons that, one, benefit themselves in their individual capacity as up and coming young female leaders. Secondly, we also look at it as learning that they can take with them to their communities. It's something that we also want to grow, the alumni network, where they can also mentor this current cohort of fellows coming in, but also at the same time, they are able to go back to the communities and, with support from us in instances, do what they envisioned to be doing when they joined the fellowship with the skills that they gained. And then lastly, one of the much appreciated characteristics in my point of view is the rich diversity that we have in the fellowship. There is recognition, respect, and appreciation of the diversity in the fellowship of different identities, cultures, backgrounds, and abilities. And it's a space that embraces and welcomes this. It's a space where we learn, and it's a space where young people also get to learn from others on the continent. So definitely, as an implementing partner, these are some of the things that we can highlight as the major pluses that we have been seeing coming out of the fellowship. And we definitely envision for it to grow even bigger across the continent. And we are also happy that it's increasing even now with representation from the Middle East. And this is definitely something that adds to the rich diversity within the fellowship. Right. And so I'll conclude here because there's a lot to say on the fellowship, definitely.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chipo. That was very enlightening. I think that for the young women that are listening in, particularly, if you fit the profile, if you've not checked it out, please do check out what the profile is for the Lead Her Fellowship. If you've checked out the profile, I hope that this is getting you going for maybe next year, because we've talked about it being a feminist safe space, peer-to-peer learning, the amazing diversity, which I think also really speaks to what this process is very focused on. It's building women, but in all areas of life. I mean, because we're not homogeneous, we come from so many different places, different circumstances, and fields of work as well. So it's an amazing, diverse space of learning. So just in case you've been thinking about it, I think that she shared some really great points for you to consider. And maybe next year is your year to join the Lead Her Fellowship. But let me go ahead. I know that both Gumiso and Chipo talked about the program itself and the pilot cohort, and a couple of the ladies who are sharing with us are from the first cohort. So I'm going to ask each of you some very similar questions just to get your different ideas and thoughts. So let me start with you, Yona. What was your experience as a Lead Her Fellow? Just share with us a little bit about that, and I'll ask the same question to Patsy and Glory as well.
All right, thank you so much, Fiona. I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Hi, everyone, all protocols observed. So just to answer your question, starting from, let's say, when I applied, I had a politics and public admin background. So that was, and seeing that as part of the pillars, I was like, maybe not. I already kind of have an academic background in it. So let me just move on to something else, i.e. peace and security. And that was the track that I was accepted into. And getting into that space, the conflict space, all in all, and knowing how women and girls, particularly on the African continent, are disproportionately burdened and affected by the impact of war and conflict on the continent once again, it was very important for me to be able to position myself as someone who can be a voice for women and girls on the continent and also for Southern Africa. Now, directing myself towards the experience that I had, it was overwhelming, enriching, fulfilling. Those are probably my top 3 words. Having to move from, being relatively competitive. I know myself, I can be very competitive at times, and shifting to being more cooperative. That was something that I needed to adjust to. I think also as well, being someone to learn from others as opposed to being learned from, because I'm so used to being someone that people ask questions all the time, and that hasn't really changed, but being someone who can ask questions to other people and learning from other people was really great. Also getting to experience different cultures, different contexts, learning from different people from across the continent. We talk about from East Africa, Southern Africa, and being able to understand how people think, why they think the things that they do, how they work the way that they do, where they come from, what their inspirations are and the like, and being able to hear them express themselves in the different pillars and as well as in the different sessions that we had. It was incredible. And also being able to finally operationalize the knowledge that I gained throughout the course of this fellowship outside the space and after graduation, namely through policy advocacy, academia, and civil society, and being able to then reconfigure alongside my personality how to really and truly immerse what I've learned throughout the course of my tenure as a fellow, and really implementing that and pushing that into how then I work as a development practitioner, academic, and also overall feminist leader. So I think I'll just really cap it there, but those are just some of the thoughts and processes of training that I had throughout my experience as a Lead Her Fellow. Thank you. Over to you, Fiona.
Thank you. I'm hearing collaboration. I'm hearing the ability to take what you know and turn it into real life work, real life, not just concept, but real life work. So thank you for sharing that. And again, I imagine that if you're listening, some of us are past the age, okay? But if there are young women listening, I hope that this is really encouraging, because I feel like she shared a lot of things that a lot of us need as we build and try to get into the right spaces and representing women in the spaces that we're in and leading effectively. So let me ask the same question to Patsy. Patsy, what was your experience with the Lead Her Fellowship, or maybe even continues to be, seeing as the fellowship, even the alumni have a community that's continuing to grow? Patsy?
Thank you so much, Fiona. All protocol observed. Good afternoon. I hope that I'm audible and that you can all hear me. I'm super duper excited. I feel like this is a full circle moment coming back to see how much we have grown and how much more we can grow. I'll summarize my experience in just one phrase. It is the golden edge of limitless potential. for so long as women, we're boxed into being one thing. Think about what you were told as you were growing up. You know, what do you want to be? A doctor, a nurse, a lawyer, etc. But why can't we be it all? So for me, I was under the business and entrepreneurship track, and my background is in financial economics. And I always love connecting with women in that sense of growing our limitless potential, because we can. And the world is our oyster. We get to devour it. So it was indeed a safe space for us to come together, grow together, fail forward together, co-create together, and just be the limitless version of ourselves. There's a word that we call that. It's called a multi-potentialite, meaning you don't have to be boxed into one thing. You get to learn from different diverse backgrounds with so many amazing personalities. Like the urban poet Maya Angelou says, there's no greater agony than the untold story within you. You get to tell your story, your own version, be the best version of yourself, and also just learn collectively. So for me, that has been the most exciting phase. And I still believe, even in the alumni chapter, that we get to see what limitless potential looks like in this golden age of creativity and limitless potential. Thank you.
Thank you. I love that. A multi-potentialite. Love that, because we really are not just one thing. Speaking as one of those people who are doing a million things myself, and I'm sure that speaks to so many other women. I love that. And I love that the fellowship is creating a space for women to be diverse, have a track, but also be diverse and be able to really move in these different spaces. So let me go over to Glory. Glory, please share with us, what has your experience been like being a fellow, the Leader Fellowship?
Thank you, Fiona. Actually, Patsy has already talked about multi-diverse, in which I wanted to talk about that, but I'll just shift. We know about feminism. You know, most of the people, when you had like someone saying like is a feminist, they take you as you are against men and all that. But in the fellowship, I was able to learn that feminism is inclusion of women in different sectors, but we do not exclude men in it, but we include women in everything. And that's what has been done. So my experience, it's just getting to know more about feminism, but also I'm from medical field. So when you come to politics, kind of very little. When you come to business and entrepreneurship, very little. When you come to peace and security. So it was a learning space for me. It was a safe space for me to be able to learn more. So I was able to be in a track of peace and security, whereby I was able to learn more about early warnings, conflict resolution, mediation, and resolution tools, in which in this area, we were able to connect, network, and learn with other fellows from a lot. We were like 12 countries there. So it was a very huge opportunity for us. And we can say like we have a fellowship that is growing from the Lead Hub Fellowship, that we are able to integrate mental health and conflict resolution and the peace and security track. So we are able to integrate that, and whereby it will be, it's from South Sudan, and we know as South Sudan mostly that thing is happening. So it's like we grow into something more, we diverse in something much better with it. So for those who are entering this cohort, you will have fun, you will learn from experts. We were able to meet different strong women out there who were very, very inspiration to us, and also more about legal regulatories, whereby you know how to handle legal issues in most of the women sectors, women areas, women issues that are going on in the world. So from my side, it was a learning space. It was a safe space. It was a safe space for us. And yeah, growing more. Thank you. Back to you, Fiona.
Thank you so much, Glory. I think something that's really coming through in everything that all of you have said is the diversity of the education that you are receiving, that you are, you're coming from this one track, but you're learning these other things from other fields that directly impact what you're doing and will actually make you better in what you're doing and make you a more well-rounded leader, a more well-rounded participant in the different spaces that you're occupying. And also just because you talked about the fellowship enriching your experience, your role in the feminist movement. I think that's beautiful. I think that it's important for all of us to continue to learn what the feminist movement is all about and why inclusion is so important and why that's a pivotal thing when we are trying to be effective participants and not just, bystanders. So thank you, ladies. This next question is also for you, the ladies, the alumni of the first cohort of the Leader Fellowship. What do you recommend to the ladies that are coming after you, to the second cohort, based on your experiences as fellows and also as alumni right now in the, in this community that you have built post fellowship? So let me go back to Yona. Did I begin with you? I think I did. Yes, go ahead.
You did. Thanks again, Fiona. Just two things that I can recommend. Starting with the Latin phrase tabula rasa, which means a clean slate. So absorb all the information that you're being given, but similarly, always think critically. Do not be afraid to ask questions. Again, I think it's a sentiment that has been echoed throughout the course, apologies, of my fellow fellows, that it is a safe space to navigate. So feel free, feel safe to ask questions. No question is a wrong question or a dumb one even. So that's one. Two, also take space and honor how you take up space. Another element of the fellowship is being able to feel free to express yourself, but also doing so respectfully. I think respect is one of the major facets that will take you pretty far in not only the fellowship, but just overall day-to-day interactions, working with people on a regular basis. You have to be respectful. So in that sense, take up space, but do so respectfully. And also in the taking up of space and space making and place making is being able to honor how you do so. So for example, personally, I know I talk a lot. I also like to think a lot. So that expresses itself in different ways, but that doesn't mean that my way of taking up space is the best way of taking up space. People might think, oh, just because I have a booming voice and I'm loud and I have a lot of hand movements, that means that I'm erudite and I know pretty much a lot or everything. It's not true. So just honor how you take up space, and that doesn't mean that you being, let's say, quieter, but for example, being able to do stuff is not add value, if I can put it that way. So I think just those two things: take up space and honoring how you do so, and also thinking critically, but also absorbing the information that you get from all the experts and the alumni and everyone else from the ULI team and Plan International. Those are just the two major things I think we can take away. Thank you so much.
Okay. Taking up space and honoring how you do it. That is profound. Let's be taking notes. I hope we're taking notes. Let me just move over straight to Patsy as well. Same question. What's that wisdom you want to pass on to the cohort of ladies that are coming in after you for this year?
Right. Thank you once again, Fiona. And like Fiona just put it, take up space, but also remember, closed mouths don't get fed, because we're so many backgrounds of people coming together to co-create, to fail forward, to learn together, to grow together. Closed mouths don't get fed. But like she's also pointed it out in a respectful manner, at the end of the day, it's a safe space for us to grow and lean into our limitless potential. And then the last thing I would say is, still in the words of urban poet Maya Angelou, may this journey be a mission, not to merely survive, but to thrive, and to do so with some passion, some compassion, some humor, and some style. And lastly, invest in yourself, because you can afford it. You're the pride. Yeah, thank you.
Very, very nice. Thank you for sharing. That was very encouraging as well. I feel like the second cohort is really being empowered and encouraged in what you're telling them. So raise your voice. Don't be quiet. There's no room for that. There's no room for that. But let me go straight over to Glory as well. What do you recommend for the fellowship of women that are following you?
Okay. First of all, as you can see my background, I am at the center actually. Then it's Patsy, Anita. So we were in ULEAD. So I'm very sure that the cohort 2 you will attend ULEAD, and that is where you can learn more, you can interact more, and it's fun. So first of all, you will get that. So yes, then I would love to say about the intercultural. It will be fun. So let's note the intercultural, because there are different countries, different people from different places. So make sure that the intercultural, it will be fun for you. It won't limit you. It won't tie you down. So make that opportunity to learn from other people, how their culture is, how different is it, what you can learn from it, and also be ready to learn. And this is a sisterhood platform. So you have your sisters with you. If you can see these all smiles, these are my sisters. So like also you will get that feminist family sisterhood. So make sure you connect that way. So I will finish by saying learn, network, and connect. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Glory. A sisterhood. That's amazing. that in itself was such a great message. We are going to allow a couple of minutes for members of our audience who would like to ask maybe a question or two. I did see one question in our comments about applying for the second cohort. That closed. The second cohort this is what we are launching, the second cohort. So look out for opportunities next year. I'll ask my colleagues to perhaps send the links for our social media, for the Lead Her Fellowship on Twitter, and you can just keep plugged in on what's happening, and maybe when the next cohort opens, that will be an opportunity to come on in to apply. All right, I see a hand up from Anne Omari. Please go ahead, Anne.
Hi, everyone. I'm so glad to be in this platform to hear from you guys. And I've seen people actually in my field. And I also wanted to ask, is the cohort going to happen in Kenya, or is it going to be online? How is it going to work?
All right, thanks, Anne. So perhaps I will direct that particular one. I hope that she's still online. I'm going to ask our team leader at ULEAD to answer that particular question. Sodfa, if you would.
Yes, thank you very much, and allow me to appreciate the incredible contribution from the speakers and the very insightful dialogue. So the cohort is a virtual one, as Kemi has mentioned at the start of this dialogue. For the second cohort, our fellows are from Eastern and Southern Africa. We have expanded for the first time to include also Lebanon as an opportunity to strengthen the South-South collaboration and cooperation. We expect then the fellows to graduate on the margins of ULEAD Summit. So the venue will be disclosed in a couple of weeks. So I hope it answered your question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sodfa. I'm sure Anne got the gist of that answer. Let me go ahead to Mercy. Martha, your hand is up. Please go ahead.
Hi, everyone. So to all the protocols, I salute everybody. So I wanted to ask if there is a follow-up after, and how we can continue these conversations, because these are very pertinent conversations, and a lot of times we are not fully aware of things that are going on the ground, and platforms like Twitter can be used, or like Telegram groups, so that we can continue conversations as young Africans, especially as women, so that we keep up to date with what is going on with the African Union, especially the youth convoy. So that's the two questions I wanted to ask. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Martha. Perhaps I'll also ask one of my colleagues to send again the link for the Lead Her Fellowship community on Twitter. And also, Beatrice, if you could send the links to some of our groups. We do have several groups. As the One Young Africa community, and you'll be able to plug into not just the Leader Fellowship, but also the wider programs. So if you could please send those links, Beatrice, I'm sure that our audience can then also just check in there and be able to really plug into what we are doing and keep updated on what is happening. So hopefully that answers your question. I'm going to probably take only 2 more questions because we are hoping to give this a very specific time frame. Let me go to Rachel Kambura. Please go ahead, Rachel.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rachel Kambura from Kenya, and also excited to be part of the second cohort of the Lead Her Fellowship. I just want to say and appreciate the speakers who have shared insights. I'm looking forward to learning more and interacting more.
All right, thank you, Rachel. We're very happy to hear from one of the members of this next cohort. So thank you for sharing that. And we are also very excited to have you with us. We're excited for all of the things that we are going to learn from each other. Let me go ahead to welcome Kize. Please go ahead, welcome.
Yes, I wanted to ask, I just wanted to ask you, would you agree with me when I say that there needs to be a transformation in the education system? Because children are taught at a young age that there are 2 different groups, which are boys and girls. And if you are not part of either one of these groups, then you are an outcast. So what I wanted to ask is, when it comes to breaking the cycle of inequality, breaking the cycle of gender-based violence and all these and femicide, would you agree that if there should be a transformation in basic education at schools, and what we teach at schools and what we teach at home? Because male children are taught that women cry and male do not cry. So would you agree with me when I say that there should be a transformation in the education system, in the basic education system and at home? Thank you.
Thank you so much, welcome. I'm going to direct that one to one of our alumni. Maybe let me ask you now, would you like to respond to that?
I think I'll take a stab at it. Hi, welcome. Thank you so much for the question. So essentially what I'm gathering from this is that you're speaking about the binary between, boys and girls, and then obviously excluding people who don't form part of the binary, and how then people are socialized through education to believe that this binary exists. Got you. Yes. So in terms of that, it starts with how we talk about or have this conversation. It goes way beyond the school gates, if we're being honest. It starts in the family unit, how we conceive gender, how we conceive, sex, and how there's this conflation between the two. Because what you find is that if there is the concretization, if you want to put it that way, of the binary, it starts with a conflation of certain concepts. So it's about making those distinctions, but also making the language more accessible for people to understand, and then elevating it upwards. I think it also stems from, I don't want to say an unwillingness to learn, might just be, but it's also about, an establishment of different realities. There's a comfort in the reality that we have, that, okay, the binary exists. And having to navigate and being outside the binary means that people have to reframe how they navigate the reality of the binary and then moving outside of it. So in summation, I think it starts beyond school. It is a conversation we need to have beyond school. We need to have it in our communities, in our homes, in mass media as well. How do we promote and generate these conversations? And it pretty much all starts with us, if we're being honest. And also being willing to educate ourselves and educate others in the same process. And also being willing to negotiate our realities and moving beyond the realities that we understand, and being open enough, but also being critical, a very reminder to be very critical, but also moving towards then ensuring that the knowledge that we do disseminate allows us to be able to then reorient our realities in such a way that we're able to then promote, a more diverse understanding of, a spectrum, as it were, because I think it's moving from the binary towards a spectrum. I hope that answered your question. And if it didn't, then you probably just have to hit me up. But I hope that suffices for now.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you so much, Fiona. And while I do see that we still have a couple of hands up, we are a bit pressed for time, and I'd like to just move on to our next part of the program, but still encouraging you to please join our different communities on social media so that you continue to plug into our processes and our activities and the different things that you can take part in and just add your voice to. We welcome you. So please do check out the links that I'll ask my colleague to just send a couple of times in the next couple of minutes. So we are moving into the closing remarks, and we have the honor of having with us Dr. Irene Isaka, the Director of Social Sector in the East African Community, who is going to share with us just right now. Welcome, Dr. Irene. Okay, let me just hold
a question, please.
If you're speaking, please mute for this moment as we have our remarks from Dr. Isaka, and perhaps towards the end you'll be able to ask another question, but we would like to give her the opportunity to close, to give her closing remarks before we officially wind this up. Let me just make sure, Dr. Isaka, can you hear us? All right.
Hello,
yes.
hello.
Hello, welcome. Please go ahead, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Your Excellencies, Madam Makena Mobia, Executive Director, MSTDC, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, young people of Africa, good afternoon. It is my pleasure being here today to attend this intergenerational dialogue on empowering the next generation, which marks launch of the second cohort Leader Fellowship and the tripartite partnership between MSTCDC, ULEAD, Plan International, and the Office of African Union Youth Envoy. I bring with me warm cordial regards from the Secretary General, Dr. Peter Mutuku Mathuki, who would like to be here and convey these remarks, but due to conflicting schedule, had requested me to represent him. Distinguished participants, intergenerational dialogues echo the commitment of the global priority, gender equality, by ensuring women's full and effective participation in equal opportunities for leadership at all levels, in decision-making in political, economic, and public lives. Creating a more effective, inclusive, and networked multilateralism, putting women and girls at the center of sustainable development. Ladies and gentlemen, today's event brought us experts, practitioners, young people with an inspiring commitment towards achievement of Africa we want, which is the heart of the work of the East African Community. Article 120C of the treaty that established the East African Community mandates the partner states to closely cooperate among themselves in the fields of social welfare, concerning development and adoption of common approach towards the disadvantaged and marginalized groups, including women, children, youth, and elderly, including also people with disabilities. This is done through rehabilitation and provision of, among other, foster homes, healthcare, education, and training. Further, Article 121 and Article 122 of the treaty stipulate the need for promoting empowerment and effective integration of participation of women at all levels of socioeconomic development and decision-making. Hence, it is a priority for the community to uplift and empower young women as pivotal actors at the forefront of regional integration and prosperity. As such, initiatives like Lead Her Fellowship are vital to support the holistic growth of women by empowering them with soft and hard skills, as well as multidisciplinary knowledge to foster their role in their respective communities and societies. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, I was delighted to hear the experiences from alumni of the first cohort, I was so excited and I was listening to each one of you. And there's no doubt that the second cohort will valuably learn from experiences that implementing partners in providing in the fields of politics and governance, business and entrepreneurship, peace and security. I was also positively impressed by the commitment that MSTCDC, ULEAD, Plan International, and African Union Office of Youth Envoy have made to ensure young women of Africa are empowered and positioned in competitive regional and global markets, as well as mobilized towards successful achievement of women's rights and gender equality agenda. The East African community remains committed in supporting young women and young men as well, growth and empowerment, as well as in meaningful contributing towards gender equality agenda, and we remain available to support this noble initiative. I thank you all for your kind attention. Asanteni sana, God bless you all.
Thank you so much, Dr. Isaka. We appreciate you taking the time to come and share with us during this launch event. All right, I see that we still have quite a number of hands, and my sincere apologies, we do have to close in just a few minutes, but I'm encouraging you to please join our communities. I'll request my colleague to send our links once again. Join our communities and you'll be able to just plug into everything we're doing. If you have very specific questions, and I have seen a couple on the chat about how you can apply next year and so on and so forth, please DM us on Twitter, or if you join one of our other communities, whether it's on Telegram, we can be able to answer some of those questions directly over there. But today in particular, and at this juncture, allow me to close this particular session. We really appreciate you taking the time to come and spend this evening, afternoon, maybe it's morning where you are. We appreciate you. Our sincere gratitude to our implementing partners, Plan International Middle East, Eastern and Southern Africa, the African Union Office of the Youth Envoy, MSTCDC, the East African community. We appreciate our speakers and panelists, the alumni. We appreciate you joining us. And we all, last but not least, you, our audience who have taken the time, over 200 of you coming to spend this time to learn a little bit about what we are doing at the fellowship, and also to plug in. One of the important things we would like is for you to plug into our communities and be part of what we are trying to do. I'll again ask my colleague to send our socials so that you can plug into the different spaces that we occupy online, so that you can ask your questions, your comments, and really be a part of not just LEADCA, but the various communities that we and our partners are creating. From the team at ULEAD, thank you so much again. My name is Fiona Kemijisha, and we wish you a great week. As we say in East Africa, kwaheri, and take care. Bye-bye.
Times are changing, and Africa is now the world's youngest continent.
Africa is the youngest continent. Majority of the population are under 35.
What are we doing about the youth? Because the youth constitute one of the important pillars that we're focused on.
Let me say the
shape young men and women. With the pillars, with the future, here we are. Let's join together with ability to change communities, with love, with peace, to respond to our need, to call for unity. Africa, hear me cry, never leave me alone. As I see light and a brighter future, let's join hands for youth and women. Let's join hands for youth and women. I lead, we lead together. So you lead, I lead, we lead together. We believe, let your dream be a reality. We believe, let your dream be a reality.
Yeah, vijana wa Afrika wote waungana, vijana vijana kutoka mashariki, magharibi, kaskazini na kusini, hata na kati, twaja pamoja ili tufanye nini? So you lead, I lead, we lead together. So you lead, I lead, we lead together. We believe, let your dream be a reality. We believe, let your dream be a reality. Hello, Kunjani. Sorry, Chubakai. Kiana. Bravo. Amahoro.
We believe in the potential of girls, women, and young people in all their diversity.
We aspire to be included in all decision-making spaces.
Queremos ver a más niñas y mujeres jóvenes como líderes de movimiento, activistas, agentes de cambio y políticas.
Notre manifeste appelle les décideurs à ouvrir des voies de participation sûres, inclusives, accessibles et durables.
We demand the national government and national law do more to protect our rights to participate.
Nous voulons être les pionniers et pionnières de notre propre avenir et réclamer un accès égal à des espaces de prise de décision sûrs et inclusifs.
We are tired of patriarchal norms that define our lives.
Y respirar el poder igualitario.
We call on power holders all over the world.
Listen to our voices and become part of the solution. We ask you, what will you do to ensure that girls get equal power now?
Please support young people. Give them access to dialogue. This is a time for intergenerational dialogue. And I believe, coming to Youth Connect, this has been a great platform for that access, for intergenerational dialogue. But it will not just end here. Let it also be heard and let it be implemented in terms of the solutions that we want as young people across the Sahel region and in the continent as well. And I think it's important that as young people, we come with a common cause. We're faced with the same challenges, so regardless of which countries we come from, which regions we come from, we have that to bond us in terms of the common issues we're faced with and the solutions that we have that are detrimental to build the Africa that we want for now and for the future generation.